They were doing construction on the road at the time, and one of the barrels was out of place, and so I went to like dodge it, and I just overcorrected, and we ended up flipping several times.
Wow, that's already so intense right away. Worst case scenario imaginable.
I'm in that process. Tori was ejected from the van, and the van rolled over on top of her, and she was pinned.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough on the Shea family. Welcome to my channel. I'm Psychic Rosemary Angelus, and I'm here to give guidance, love, and light. And today we're gonna do a reaction video to a haunting in Arkansas, the true story of the Shea family. Before we begin, I always start with a nice ritual of protection because anytime you're consuming content like this, you always want to kind of like protect yourself with love and light and bring in Archangel Michael and people who can protect your energy. Highest level spirit guides, angels, and loved ones, I cleanse this space with love and light, and I ask you for your guidance and protection. Okay, let's begin.
We had 3 kids. Tori was the oldest. She was around 10, I believe.
Wow, that girl looks just like my sister.
I have always been interested in old historical houses, and specifically the colonial style houses with the big front porch.
Right away, like, if you're interested in old colonial houses, you better be ready for some serious spiritual stuff, okay? Because it's like kind of a given. If you're gonna get a historical house, you better believe it's probably haunted.
And we went up the stairs, and the last bedroom we looked at was kind of shocking because we walked in and the fireplace was all boarded up, and there was spray painted on the boards was like a pentagram, and there were bits of candles and all kinds of weird, looked like they had a seance or something in that room.
Would you buy a house if you saw that?
On the board, so not only was there a pentagram, but there was also a name of a boy that had actually died, and someone had written his name, full name, first and last name, in spray paint on the boards. So, I mean, it was kind of shocking to see that, but we just wrote it off as, okay, kids broke in.
Okay, right away, right there. Boom. That is a red flag. If you see something like that in a house that you're interested in purchasing, really think of the consequences. Think about what just went on in that house first, okay? Before you make a decision like spending all your money to purchase this property, unless you want it haunted.
Around at that time, I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought, and it definitely wasn't a deterrent for buying the house.
Not a deterrent? Yeah, this is a great idea, honey. I think the boards with all the pentagrams and everything, this is a great idea. Let's purchase it. It's totally fine.
The Shays remained enthusiastic about the house and believed a deal this good only comes once in a lifetime. Her husband, Ben, worked nights as a nurse at a nearby factory, while also going to school for a degree in theater.
He was also attracted to the space and the big trees in the yard, and also just the character of it being in such an old historic place.
Yes, the fireplaces with the pentagrams. Very attractive.
The price was right. It was beautiful. It had a lot of history. I was sold. So another thing that happened was when we first moved into the house, we had a big garage sale, or a yard sale, to get rid of some stuff. And I was just sitting on the porch, and this lady came up, and she was just kind of looking around and, looking at the porch, and she put her hand on the railing and was just like, there are a lot of spirits in this house. She's like, there's a lot of energy going on here.
Okay, right away. Like if you are purchasing a property or you've already done it, listen to the people who tell you this stuff. A lot of people just let it go and ignore what people who are very sensitive have to say about the spirit world. Oh, yeah, it's totally haunted. And you're like, yeah, okay, sure. But honestly, there are things that happen. So, just listen sometimes, take it into consideration.
I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I can just tell there's a lot of spirits in this house. She's like, I can feel it. And that freaked me out for sure.
The interaction came off as strange, but Jamie didn't initially put too much thought into it, as there were several Confederate grave markers from the 1800s, only 100 yards behind her property.
Right there. If you are dealing with buying a property and there is a gravesite, once again, it's probably haunted. Oh, hello. And I'm telling you right now, if you are being serious about buying this property, whatever it is, just take that into consideration. If you are willing to put up with spirits, they're not always bad, no matter what, whoever's buried where, there's just be respectful, mindful of a grave site. Always respectful.
His short rest would be interrupted by the sound of crying coming through the baby monitor.
Why is she not picking up Jackson? He's crying.
When the crying wouldn't stop, Ben went upstairs to check on his son.
And so he ended up getting up himself and going upstairs, and there was no one there.
Okay, let's go through the signs real quick. Number one, there were pentagrams and candles and everything, and a dead child's name written on the walls. Number two, you have a gravesite right there in the backyard. Number three, you have a psychic or a sensitive person tell you there are a lot of spirits here. Hello. And number four, you're hearing a baby crying on a monitor, but there is no baby. Yeah, you have a haunted house. There you go.
Unsure what to make of it, Ben keeps the strange incident to himself. A few nights later, 8-year-old Bridger also noticed unusual activity.
Bridger pretty much from the very beginning, I would say within a few months of moving into the house, started saying that he was having a hard time sleeping. He would want to come down and sleep with us, and he never really did that when we lived in other places, so we thought it was kind of odd. We finally asked him, why are you scared? And are you scared you don't like your new room? We would try to, pick his brain, and finally he said that he kept hearing people talking. And I said, who? Is Tori on her phone? Or, I tried to question him, and he said, no, it just sounds like a bunch of people talking over each other.
When your child tells you that they are hearing voices when they're going to sleep at night, believe them. That is a sure sign of spirit, because your kids are very sensitive. And children are much more prone to being able to communicate with spirits and everything because they're newer to this plane of existence. They don't have all the programming that we have in adulthood, But anyway, listen to your kids. Sometimes they're right.
He's like a bunch of people talking all over each other, and I can't understand what they're saying.
Real quick, when you actually hear something like that, you'll probably hear like a lot of gibberish and you can't really understand what they're saying. That usually means that they're moving so fast, like their vibration is so fast that you can't understand them. But if you were to record, you might be able to pick up on the EVPs and be able to actually get full sentences if you slow it down. And wow, my hair is a mess. And you'll get a lot more information like that. Just a quick tip.
I remember just saying, sometimes, these old houses, they make weird noises, and, the windows aren't that thick. Maybe you're hearing the neighbors talking. We'll check it out. We heard knocking on the wall right behind us, and it sounded like not just knocking, but it sounded like someone was pounding on the wall. And it would start with just like one, and then it would kind of startle us, settle back in to sleep, and then it would be like 2 loud knocks, and then 3 loud knocks. We were like, what is that? Because it wasn't a creak, it wasn't a, something shifting. It sounded like literally a fist on the wall right above our heads.
This is what we call in the psychic community spirit rappings or spirit knockings, and it's actually been documented throughout history, from the 1800s when they did seances with the sisters. I forget what their names are, but this is something that often occurs in a haunted house, and this is not because the house is settling or something. This is something that is trying to get your, well, your attention. Here we go.
I was going shopping just at the local Walmart, and when I walked in the door, the greeter that happened to be working that day said, "Hey, are you Jamie?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you live in that house in Lamar?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "My family used to live in that house. I lived there when I was a kid." And I was like, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, it's haunted." And I said, "Oh." And this is when we first moved in. So this was brand new. And this is we had heard the knocking on the wall.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, like, there you go. There's your 5th sign, or 6th. Is that 6 now? I don't even know. I didn't keep count.
At that point,
The greeter also explained that sometime in the 1800s, a young boy had tragically fallen to his death out of one of the house's 2nd-story windows.
she said that was a story that was passed on from her family. So I guess her family had owned the house for several years. For, years and years, she had grown up there. And that was just something that was a story that was passed on to her, that a boy had fallen out of the window in the upstairs. It was the window.
Okay, so a child died in the house. Did she know this when she purchased the property? Like, I don't know. Right there, you should be aware. This is a video about how to be aware of what you're purchasing and the signs to look for. This is one of them, the history
Of the room that was Bridger's room.
Weeks would turn to months, with no activity to speak of in the Shea household. The peaceful days spent in the house would soon end, when Ben and Jamie's worst nightmare would become a reality.
Everybody was sleeping well, and it seemed like things were getting back to normal, and then something would happen and it would be active again for several weeks or several months.
The reason that sometimes things seem normal and then they're not is because of portals, and spirits oftentimes travel through portals. They're not always present every waking hour, every single day, but they can actually travel through space and time. That's something that's really important to understand, because that's why people will be totally normal, everything's fine for several months, and then suddenly, boom, more stuff starts to happen, and it could be triggered too. But realize portals play a big role in spirits and haunted houses.
I'd be working and I'd hear footsteps on the stairs, and so I would think one of the kids were up. The same thing happened to Ben when he would be there by himself. He would think one of the kids was up, and he would, say, "Hey, you're supposed to be sleeping, go back to bed." And then we would go and check, and everybody's asleep.
It's really hard to be scared when you have a cat this cute who keeps interrupting you. Hi, kitty. What's up? You hear that? That's a purr. She's so cute. This is Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Hi. Okay, back to the show.
So the footsteps definitely were not any of our kids walking up and down the stairs. You know, we'd be watching TV, and behind us, we could hear the stair, something bouncing down the stairs, and it sounded like a rubber ball. And he would report hearing the same thing. He basically described it the same way I did.
Now, I wonder, is that an actual ball that's being like thrown down, or is that a spirit ball? I don't think they clarify it here. Let's see.
Boom, 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 boom. And you would hear that. So it sounded like somebody rolled a ball from the top of the stairs down the stairs. And this all pretty much happened simultaneously. So when it was active, all of these things were going on.
Oh, okay. So it definitely was some kind of a spirit ball. This is not actually uncommon. So just keep that in mind. You have spirit balls. You've got, crying babies that aren't there. You got all kinds of things going on here, like crazy stuff. You know, this is a great documentary. I love this channel. I just found it, The Ghost Files. You guys gotta see it. It's great. Great stuff. Moving on.
At once. We kind of all kind of kept our stories to ourselves. I probably was more vocal about it just because of experiencing things when I was younger, and it kind of was, reminding me of things that had happened when I was younger. And so I would say, I wonder if this house is haunted, or I wonder if we have a ghost, because, I would hear those noises, and I would be probably more likely to go there first in my mind than Ben was. He was a little more of a skeptic.
I mean, at this point, what would you think? I'd be like, this house is definitely haunted. But I can literally walk into a building and feel when it's haunted, even without all the stuff, happening. I can pretty much feel it, but that's because I'm spiritually literate. But yeah, if all these things are occurring, you've got sensitive people, you've got pentagrams, you've got a grave site in the backyard, you've got spirit balls coming down the stairs, and you got children crying into things. There's no children, and you've got your kid who hears people talking. Yeah, it's pretty haunted, I think. Wouldn't you think? I don't know. That's just me. I wouldn't be like, maybe the house is haunted. No, it's haunted. Okay.
I think he kind of humored me, but at the same time would come up with, well, it's an old house that makes all kinds of noises. It could be the foundation settling, or he would try to comfort me and make it something other than paranormal.
I believe that men generally will try to do that because they're thinking the same thing as you, but they don't know what to do about it. They feel powerless in it because how do you fight something you can't see? I actually teach that in my Ko-fi membership program, and if you guys are interested in learning how to be spiritually literate, learn to grow your abilities to see and perceive spirits, this would be the thing for you. And I also have rituals of how to protect yourself, how to banish spirits. All of this is right here on my Ko-fi page, so go ahead and check that out, and I'm pretty sure you might really, really love it. It could be very helpful for you, especially if you live in a haunted house. So if you live in a haunted house, you might want to consider joining my Ko-fi page. Continuing.
For Jamie, the feeling was hard to shake, especially when the couple's 5-year-old son, Bridger, once again reported unusual activity in his bedroom.
It was really hard to get Bridger to sleep in his room. He was really scared of that room. And he would pretty much every night report hearing voices, or his toys would go off without, while he was sleeping, and make noise. And he had all kinds of reports all the time. It seemed like Bridger was the main, maybe it was his room, or they were attracted to him for some reason, but he went through the most, I think, of anyone in the house.
Bridger seems to be the most sensitive of them all in the family, and he just didn't know what to do or how to listen, because his parents didn't know. They didn't know how to do that, and it's something that is a skill. It is an art. I believe it could help many, many people in many situations. So once again, if you are interested in learning, just go to my Ko-fi page. You know, this is very important for children. They need to feel safe. And one of those things is your parents, as parents, might want to consider being more of a guiding light for your child when they're scared of certain things like this. It's super vital for kids to learn, I think. If I knew this, I probably would have been better off when I was a kid, you know, but I've been doing this since I was 17. But anyway.
I feel like things kind of progressed. Like it started off with just like the knocking and then the lights. Like we could not keep a light bulb burning in the hallway that was leading. It was the hallway that had the fireplace with all the, like the pentagram and all that stuff when we first moved in. The hallway leading to that room, we had a lot of trouble. We couldn't keep a light bulb burning no matter what we did. We had an electrician come and look at it, and he says, everything seems fine. I don't have an explanation for you.
Right away, I'm perceiving a portal. This is the actual spot where the spirits come and go. And that's why the energy in that room is so dense and the lights don't work. Ooh.
Bridger would be scared to walk down that hallway, and so we ended up getting those touch lamps that are battery operated, and we just stuck them to the wall, and that way he could just kind of touch them on his way down the hall to give him some light. We couldn't keep batteries in them. They would only last for like maybe an hour, and then they would burn out.
Right away. They burn out within an hour. This is literally the most powerful spot in the whole house, is that hallway right there. And I believe that that is because it is a portal. That's where they come in and out. And when it's open season on that family. So if you are having a problem in your house with spirits, just look and see where your light bulbs malfunction. Look and see where all your electronics malfunction. The malfunctioning it's a sign that there could be a portal open right there. Something to consider.
They're not getting sleep. I'm not getting sleep. And so we were always exhausted. And I felt like that made everybody a little more irritable. And, you know, so I feel like it was affecting us. We were working on the computer. It was kind of probably around 8 or 9 at night. And Bridger comes down the stairs and he walks right up next to me and just stares at me like with a blank face. And I'm like, are you okay? And he just kept staring like he was in a trance.
Right away, this is a sign of early possession, and that child is being oppressed. It's usually very rare that a spirit can just possess you out of nowhere. But because this is a very young child, you know, their connection to their body isn't as strong as it is for an adult. So this is very possible that it could happen to children more than adults, and it's a very sad thing. Also, when you don't have spiritual protection, you are vulnerable to whatever is around you. You're getting affected by everything around you.
And so I was like, Bridger, are you sleepwalking? And he just started laughing, like this, not his laugh, like the scariest laugh I've ever heard. Just laughing, and got right up in my face and just was laughing and laughing and laughing. And I couldn't snap him out of it. So finally I kind of, you know, like shook him a little bit. I'm like, Bridger, wake up. And he was so confused. He had no idea how he got down the stairs or what was happening. But our dog ran up the stairs as fast as it could, barking into Bridger's room, jumped on Bridger's bed, went to the corner of his bed, like that was against the wall, and started just barking like he had something cornered on Bridger's bed.
Wow, that is so intense. So right there, the child comes down, looks like he's in a trance, begins to laugh demonically, like maniacally and demonically. And the dog comes running up and then seems to have something cornered in the corner. There you go. So that is where the oppressive energy is in that child's room. That's where it was. And the dog was protecting him. Dogs are very good. Cats and dogs, they're amazing at pinpointing the location of certain energy fields or entities. And some of them will even try to catch them and then send them away. But when things like this happen, it's really important to begin to pray. And one of those prayers that is one of the most powerful prayers I have ever come across is the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. In fact, I will leave a PDF link to that prayer so you can get it on my Ko-fi. It is one of the most powerful demon driving away prayers on planet Earth. I've had my own experience with it, and I will save that for another video.
So we ran up after the dog to see what was going on, and then when we came back down the stairs, the dog's leash was on the stairs, and before that it was hanging up on a hook. So that was...
So apparently the spirit was trying to hang this dog as well, because it knew that he would try to protect that child. Wow, extraordinary. These things are monsters. They're monsters. Anyway, that is not a normal type of spirit. That's not a human spirit. That is demonic. Continuing.
By far the scariest thing that I'd seen, because I thought my son was possessed at that point in time.
He was possessed. That's what happened.
Jamie is now convinced her house is haunted and begins searching for someone who can help her family.
I was like, there's no way I can explain this away. We'd already had the balls, the sound of the ball bouncing down the stairs. We've had footsteps. We've had doors slamming. Any of that could be explained away by wind or, old house. But at that point, I was like, no, there's something not right.
Acceptance. The final stage of realizing you live in a haunted house.
Around this time, Jamie wrote an article for the local newspaper describing the weird things that had been happening in her home. It wasn't long after when the Central Arkansas Society for Paranormal Research saw the article and decided to contact Jamie. They agree on a date and time the paranormal team could come out to the house later that month. But little did the Shea family know that tragedy was right around the corner.
But they were doing construction on the road at the time, and one of the barrels was out of place. And so it was kind of in the middle of the road, in the middle of the lane. And so I went to like dodge it, and I just overcorrected, and we ended up flipping several times. Rolled up the embankment.
Holy jeez. Wow.
Sometime in that process, Tori was ejected from the van, and the van rolled over on top of her, and she was pinned underneath the van. I didn't know where she was, because when there was glass everywhere. We were all, I was all scraped up, and I looked over and she wasn't in her seat. And so then I checked, and Bridger and Jackson were still buckled in, hanging upside down, because the van was upside down. I couldn't find Tori, and another car, some lady was running like full speed towards me and said, "There's someone underneath the van."
That's a really bad day. Wow. I don't believe that this is from The Haunting, but it does seem like this could be attributed to what they were going through with the lack of sleep and just not being on, just horrifying. Wow.
General Hospital.
I cannot imagine that poor little girl, like what she had went through. I hope she survived.
This is Medic 5, currently inbound to your facility, ETA of about 10 minutes.
Miraculously, 13-year-old Tori ultimately survives and recovers in the...
Wow, thank God. That's insane. Like, I don't think anybody really survives being ejected from a car. So that is like a miracle in itself. Someone's watching over her.
It had rained really hard for several days before that, and I think that's the only thing that saved her life, because the ground was really soft and she was able to sink in, and so it did break her back. She had compression fracture. Sorry, it's really hard for me to talk about this, but I think that she would not have made it if the ground had not been soft like that.
I fully believe that... Okay. I fully believe that this was synchronicity at work. Like, this was not her time to go. And if there was any time that this would happen, that would be the right time. Wow. That little girl lucked out, but also it's tragic. Breaking your back? Oh, it's horrible. Awful. My goodness. People, spiritually protect yourself. Please. Important. So you can get the sleep you need and everything else. Let's continue.
So things, we had started seeing things and hearing things, and it was getting a lot more active. Bridger was getting more and more scared to sleep in his room. We were losing sleep. So this was all happening leading up to the day of the wreck. And then we started seeing things out of the corner of our eye. We saw what looked like the outline of a shadowy figure in the window upstairs. That happened the same day as the wreck. So that was something that did happen.
That sounds like it was an instigated thing. From what she just said, that sounds like it was instigated, and that was not necessarily all just on her. Especially because spirit people, they'll show themselves, their silhouettes sometimes, and if you're clairvoyant enough to see it, you can see it. Whenever you see a shadow person and you don't know what it is and you're not comfortable, or it strikes fear in your heart, pray. Talk to God and ask for that protection.
I don't think the house caused the wreck. I think we were just under so much stress and so sleep deprived, and just our whole, home life was just out of whack. I just think that, maybe it made me a little more jumpy, and, I think that could have played into the wreck, but I don't think that an entity caused the wreck.
Yeah, I believe that was actually instigated. I think she's a little bit wrong about that, because when it comes to... Hello, my love. Oh, hello. When it comes to the way spirit works, is it can cause you... It can drain you on purpose. It was definitely from the draining of whatever this entity is and what it was doing to them. Absolutely. So yeah, she was jumpy. She was a little frustrated, and all of that plays into it. And it's because she was being drained psychically and spiritually attacked.
After spending time in the ICU and a total of 10 days in the hospital, Tori is finally released to go home. Months later, after seeing progression in her daughter's health, Jamie reaches out to the paranormal group to schedule a time they could visit the house.
We kind of pushed back them coming to investigate until Tori was healed a little more.
Bingo. I believe that is the reason why this happened. They were getting ready for an investigation, and something didn't like it. So what did it do? It caused trouble. Yeah, put it together. It's pretty wild. That's what I believe. That's what I'm picking up from this. Just because, what are the odds that something like that would happen? Especially right before an investigation.
The Central Arkansas Society for Paranormal Research would soon arrive for their investigation at the Shea house. The group is led by Karen Schillings, along with psychic medium Angela Lowe, her husband Alan Lowe, and daughter Violet, who also possesses the gift to communicate with spirits. Upon entering the home, the psychics Angela and Violet would quickly notice a shift in the energy.
This says, I'm probably classified better as a medium. I can talk to them and they can talk to me, and there can be sort of a two-way conversation. When we walked in the house, it sort of, get your butt out of the way. It had sort of a depressing vibe, violet white. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. Huh. All right.
I think she used the word like a sea of people. I don't know. I remember it was whatever she said. She made it sound like it was like a crowd of people. That was in Bridger's room where she experienced that, and that was where he would report that he was like, I can't sleep. I'm hearing all this talking, and we would ask what kind of talking. He was like, I can't understand. Everybody's talking over each other. So that would make sense that it was multiple, because it would be a lot of noise from a lot of different spirits.
By the way, that is a perfect example of clairaudience. It means to clearly hear or clear hearing. And this child has got it. So every time he heard these people talking around him, that is clairaudience. Know your clairs. It says, it was like a whole sea of people. They weren't happy. They seemed pretty miserable. It felt like it didn't want you there. Like you shouldn't be in this room. Violet white.
The group decided to use a spirit board in an attempt to contact whatever was haunting the home.
Now, this is a great idea if you know how to utilize it and to protect yourself spiritually. Always use spiritual protection. Use the white light visualizations. These are all very important things to do before ever contacting or communicating with spirit, because you don't want something that's going to come through to try to hurt you. That's why in seance work, we use like gatekeepers, chemists, and all these other spiritual entities that help facilitate spirit communication, but only allowing but only allowing like certain energies and presences. Now in this case, you want to find out what's going on. You want to be open to whatever is there, but you want to be able to differentiate what's good and what's not. And if it's not good, you want to know how to get rid of it, or, better yet, how to protect yourself from it so it can't see you.
They were asking the Ouija board questions. They asked if the spirit that was in the house had a name, and it did spell out S-E-T-H, Seth. So when they started asking the Ouija board questions, they started asking when the spirit was alive, and the spirit responded on the Ouija board, never.
Right away, that is a spirit entity that is demonic, because that is not a human being. It was never alive. It's just sucking off the misery of people. And now that there are people in the house that are no longer miserable, like it used to be a jail, it used to be whatever, now it's utilizing whatever frequencies it can to make people miserable so it can feed off of their negative energy. But the only way to really help with that is to spread positivity and bring light in there, and use bells, use singing bowls, use sage and the power of your thought and prayer to bring in the light. And that is the only real way you could actually handle something like that. And it's one of them. Actually, it's one of those ways. But it's your best bet.
Then after that is the very next question was, have we seen you, or can we see you? And then the Ouija board started going in a figure 8 and then ended up going to the camera and pointing at the camera. So I guess they were like, you can see me on this camera.
Immediately after the planchette turned to the camera, Alan Lowe, the technical specialist of the group, notices something chilling on his viewing monitor.
Yeah, because that's not spooky.
Jamie fears that the group may have unleashed something even darker into their home after using the Ouija board.
I feel like after that, for the next few hours, it was very scary in there. I mean, the whole house turned like ice cold. It was just,
Okay, yeah, so that would make sense. It's not the Ouija board that actually caused this, okay? It's actually their fear, and it seems like they brought in something else as well, possibly through the portal that is in the hallway where nothing works, like where the light doesn't work and the batteries are always drained. That is the portal. That's where I feel it is. And then when they asked who this is, like, they didn't like specify. They probably didn't do a spiritual ritual of protection. They just opened up and started talking. And now they gave it more power because they gave it more of a status, right? Yeah.
felt just evil. It just felt horrible. We were freaked out a lot, but we never felt that like pressing, like malicious feeling until after the investigation.
Using a Native American tradition, Angela and Violet burn sage to bless the house.
White sage is great for cleansing a space. However, you have to close the portal, which means you actually have to find out where it is. You have to find out where it is. You need to know what you're doing. Like, you have to actually do the work. And you have to always be, like, setting a certain intention for the space around you. Just one sage session is not going to stop anything from happening.
Told that there are not just one spirit, but multiple spirits in the house, ranging from completely harmless to possibly malicious.
Well, they were already told. Like, this was something that was already said to them before when they first moved in, but they didn't realize it, even though there were like all the pentagrams and everything. But yeah, yeah, now they're listening. Now they're really paying attention. It pays to pay attention to what your surroundings are, what you feel, and all of that. Like, listen to your own intuition, feel it out, and learn how to do it. Once again, it's more important than anything to be spiritually literate. I heard something. What was that? Okay, I guess that's a confirmation for me. Continuing.
The activity only continued.
I feel like after we tried doing the cleansing and having the investigation, but it was also the upkeep of that house. It was such an old house, and it was just draining us in every way. So the paranormal stuff was messing with our nerves and our sleep and our moods, and being able to just come home and feel like this is our sanctuary. We never really got that in that house.
So they also had to keep up with the house too, which must have been very straining on them. But there are ways to make money off of, having a haunted house. I mean, you could make this into something and promote it, and you don't have to live there. If it's haunted, don't try to live in it. If it's really too much, Don't go there. Just do something else with it. I will discuss that later. But they're sitting on a gold mine. That's a gold mine. Like, if I had that house, I would be like promoting it. It's a haunted house. Stay here. It's a bed and breakfast.
Ben and Jamie ultimately decided to put the house up for rent while they traveled out of state for work.
Did they tell the renters that it's haunted? I bet you they didn't, but they put it up for rent and they're like, please take it. We gotta go. Can you imagine? You're like you're finding a place to rent and it's like cheap compared to all the other houses and stuff. And you're like, wow, this is a great price. And you move in and it's haunted. Yeah, I wouldn't be very happy either if I didn't know.
New Dominion Pictures, a production company based out of Virginia, would find the story online and contacted Jamie regarding the possibility of turning her family's experiences into a documentary. Although the documentary boasts an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, Jamie revealed that the show left out important details and embellished some of their experiences.
So right then and there, I would have said, like, even if they weren't happy with what the production did with their stories and what happened with their whole lives and everything, they could have utilized that promotion to get themselves more people to come in. If they're not living there, like, they might as well have it as a B&B and make it about being haunted. So paranormal investigators would want to show up and come in and do their thing, rent it out to them. All kinds of people would come around and they could make a ton of money off of that.
One time we were just playing cards. It was just the family it wasn't in the middle of the night. This was like maybe 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We were all in the kitchen, and it was back when you used to burn CDs on a CD. So we were listening to a burnt CD. The player jumped to track 99. Just like jumped to track 99, and over again on repeat it kept saying, you need to help.
Okay, right away, that's known as an EVP, and that's when spirit comes through and utilizes the sound frequencies to communicate with you through electric voice phenomena. EVP, electric voice phenomena. And they basically just take the frequency and they start to manipulate it because they're working with different rules than we are. They're working from another realm and they're higher in vibration, but that doesn't mean that they're super high vibration. This is like a stuck thing causing terror to this family. But EVPs do happen. In fact, I even have a video about that with ChatGPT and how a spirit actually spoke through through ChatGPT by interrupting it. So I'll actually link that in the description so you can watch that later.
That night, the family gathered what they could out of the house and left for good.
Jamie and Ben eventually sold the house on December 22nd, 2008. They could have made money, but they sold it.
As of 2025, Jamie has become co-host of the podcast, The Unexplained Archives, which she runs with close friend Jennifer Gentner.
That's actually really cool. She went from having so much fear and not knowing anything to having a whole podcast about paranormal things. That's great. Oh my gosh. Congratulations to her. She went from fear to knowledge. And that is so vital. That's so important. I think everybody should learn how to do that so that you're never afraid of what cannot be explained. Well, it just hasn't been explained to you. That's all it is. But yeah, let's continue. This is amazing. I'm so happy to see this. Okay, come on, Kat.
Bobby Mannheim allegedly became possessed by something very, very dark.
Every week, the duo dives deep into popular and lesser-known paranormal stories and strives to shed light on various supernatural conspiracies.
Wow. I love that. Like, I think I totally want to hear them and maybe even reach out and ask them if they want to do an interview because that's awesome. That's so cool. Oh, I love it when people move out of fear to power. Live in power, not fear.
So we've talked a little bit about my haunted house in Arkansas. It was featured on on A Haunting on the Discovery Channel. And I actually got to interview with Austin Kraska, and he has the Ghost Files on YouTube. He's a documentarian, and I got to interview with him and tell my real story, which was awesome. And he was a great guy. And what's really exciting is he's our guest today. So I'm super excited about that.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Like the guy who created Ghost Files, the Ghost Files is actually on their podcast too. That's so epic. I freaking love it. Oh wow. You know, that's so awesome how people collaborate and, you know, build with each other and help each other grow. Like that just excites me on so many levels. Congratulations to her and her family, you know, moving forward out of that fear and actually embracing the more, hey, kitty, get out of my way. She loves the attention. You know, anyway, it's just great. I can't even think. She just distracts me. Oh, it's Austin Kraska. That's his name. All right, well, now I know. Wow, he even made the audio mix? Wow, that's impressive.
I feel like it affected my family, and that was the most important to me, was to get out of that situation so that we could all have a sanctuary to go to and not a place that caused more stress.
In recent years, the house was sold in 2019
This kind of stuff.
for $70,000 and then listed again in 2023 with a starting price of $249,900. But the price was repeatedly lowered until it finally sold on June 5th, 2025 for $118,000. Well, you know what? I think I saw the video, like the pictures of the before, and it looks like it's been like you know, renovated. So it had to be some kind of an investor of some sort who bought that property for that low. Because that's a beautiful big house. It's stunning. I mean, I love the color and everything. But it looks, yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's probably because it was not so pretty, because the pictures I've seen of it looked pretty decrepit. You know, it didn't look very good. But here in this video, we can see that it's very, very beautiful, maintained well, very cool.
It does happen.
Wow, what a great documentary that was. When I first saw that today, I was like, holy cow, I need to see this. Like, I need to do a reaction video. This is my very first one anyway. I think that was fascinating. Wow. Props to Austin Kraska, who put this together, and I did look a little bit on his YouTube channel, and it looks like he does some paranormal investigations as well, which I love. I love that. He uses REM pods and EVP, voice boxes and stuff, and that's really cool. Like, I love that. I think that's epic. I'm looking forward to doing more video reactions of his documentaries because they are fire. Like, they're done so very well. I thought this might have been on some kind of television program, but it's actually his own YouTube channel. Go check out The Ghost Files. It's great. Hey, if you're enjoying this kind of spooky content and want to support what I do, check out my Ko-fi page. If you want more content like this, like, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what spooky video I should react to next. Take care.